Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the bridge of the UES Horizon, Earth's most advanced diplomatic vessel, watching the swirling purple nebula ahead. After decades of searching for intelligent life, humanity had finally received their answer, though not in the way anyone had expected. Multiple signatures detected. Admiral, Lieutenant Rodriguez announced, his fingers dancing across the holographic display. Energy readings matched the distress beacon's profile. Sarah nodded, her weathered face reflecting the ethereal light of the nebula. Just 3 days ago, Earth's deep space arrays had picked up a desperate plea for help, broadcast on frequencies humanity had only theorized could exist. The message was clear. A refugee fleet was fleeing from something terrible, and Earth lay directly in their path. Status of the refugee vessels? Sarah asked, adjusting her uniform's collar. Despite the environmental controls, a chill ran down her spine. 17 ships, mainly civilian class, heavy damage to their propulsion systems, life support failing on at least 3 vessels. Rodriguez paused, his eyes widening. Admiral, I'm detecting multiple new signatures entering the system. Much larger. Military grade. Sarah's jaw tightened. Show me. The main viewport shifted, displaying a tactical overlay of the incoming vessels. They were massive, dwarfing even the horizon, their hulls covered in what appeared to be crystalline growths that pulsed with an inner light. Broadcasting on all frequencies, Communications Officer Zhang announced. No response from the pursuing vessels, but I'm getting something from the refugee fleet. Patching it through. A holographic figure materialized on the bridge. A tall, avian being with iridescent feathers and 4 arms. Its eyes, all 6 of them, showed clear signs of exhaustion and fear. Unknown vessel, the being spoke, its words automatically translated by the ship's eye. I am First Speaker Corva of the Free Planets Alliance. Please, you must help us. The Vizari Empire follows close behind. They will not stop until we are all enslaved or dead. Sarah stepped forward. I am Admiral Chen of the United Earth Fleet. We received your distress call. Can you explain what we're dealing with? Corva's feathers rippled with distress. The Vizari are the scourge of our galaxy. They possess the power to dominate minds, to bend entire species to their will. We are the last free peoples in this sector, and soon we will be. The transmission crackled with interference. Multiple weapons signatures. Rodriguez shouted. The pursuing fleet is charging weapon systems. Sarah's training kicked in. Launch defensive drones. Position us between the refugee fleet and the hostiles. Zhang, broadcast our first contact protocols on all frequencies. The massive pursuing vessels emerged from FTL, their crystalline hulls gleaming like frozen fire. There were 5 of them, each easily 10 times the size of the horizon. The lead ship pulsed with energy, and suddenly every crew member on the bridge felt it. A pressure in their minds, an alien presence attempting to assert control. But nothing happened. Admiral, Zhang said, shaking his head in confusion, the refugees are reporting their people are being affected by some kind of psychic attack, but none of us are feeling anything beyond a slight pressure. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Interesting. Rodriguez, analysis. The energy signatures match nothing in our database, but they're clearly targeting our neural patterns. Something about human brain structure must be resistant. Before Sarah could respond, a new hologram appeared, a tall, crystalline being with multiple faceted eyes and a body that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states. When it spoke, its voice carried an undertone that made the crew's teeth ache. Primitive vessels, you harbor fugitives from the Vizari Empire. Surrender them immediately or be destroyed. Your minds are unusual, but your technology is nothing compared to ours. You have 1 planetary rotation to comply. Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady. This is Admiral Chen of Earth. Those ships are under our protection. We do not recognize your authority in this system, and we will defend any sentient beings seeking asylum from oppression. The crystalline being's form rippled with what might have been amusement. You do not understand what you face, human. We are the Vizari. We have dominated 1,000 species. Your resistance is unprecedented, but futile. Perhaps, Sarah replied, a small smile playing at her lips. But there's something you should know about humans. We don't take kindly to bullies, and we're very good at fighting against impossible odds. The Vizari commander's form pulsed with anger. Then you have chosen extinction. The hologram vanished. All hands to battle stations, Sarah commanded. Contact Earth Command. Tell them first contact has gone sideways, and we're about to give these Vizari a lesson in human determination. The horizon's shields hummed to life as the Vizari ships moved into attack formation. Sarah watched their approach, her mind racing through options. Humanity had just been thrust onto a galactic stage they hadn't known existed, facing an enemy that had conquered countless worlds. But they had one advantage. Whatever quirk of human neurology that resisted the Vizari's mental domination might just be the key to fighting back. Tactical, prepare to deploy the experimental quantum disruptors. Let's show these overlords that humanity isn't as primitive as they think. Sarah's voice carried across the bridge, steady and determined. And get me a direct line to the refugee fleet. If we're going to fight an empire, we're going to need allies who know what we're up against. As the first energy beams lanced out from the Vizari vessels, the UES Horizon's crew braced for impact. Humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin, and despite the overwhelming odds, Sarah felt a surge of fierce pride. They might be outgunned and outnumbered, but humanity had spent its entire history overcoming impossible challenges. The Vizari were about to learn why. 3 weeks after humanity's first contact with the Vizari Empire, the war room at Earth Defense Command buzzed with activity. Holographic displays showed the positions of refugee fleets across 3 sectors, while tactical overlays mapped the movements of Vizari battle groups. Dr. Maya Patel stood before the assembled military leadership, her dark eyes bright with excitement despite her exhaustion. Behind her, a massive display showed detailed neural scans of human and alien brains. We've finally identified why humans are immune to Vizari control, she announced, manipulating the holographic display. It's not just one factor. It's a combination of our neural architecture and something completely unexpected: music. Admiral Chen, recently promoted to fleet commander after the Battle of the Purple Nebula, leaned forward. Music? Explain. Maya enlarged a section of the human brain scan. Humans are unique among known species in how we process rhythm and harmony. Our brains create complex neural patterns when we're exposed to music, patterns that actively interfere with the Vizari's psychic frequencies. We've been inadvertently protecting ourselves for thousands of years just by singing. General Martinez, head of Earth Defense, stroked his chin thoughtfully. Can we weaponize this? We already have, Maya replied, switching the display to show schematics of a new device. Working with the Free Planets Alliance engineers, we've developed what we're calling the Harmony Shield. It generates a field that mimics the neural patterns created by human musical processing. Early tests show it can protect other species from Vizari control. The room erupted in excited murmurs. Sarah Chen stood up, addressing the assembly. This changes everything. The Vizari's greatest weapon has been their ability to turn entire populations into slaves. If we can shield our allies. There's more, Maya interrupted, her voice trembling with barely contained excitement. We've discovered that certain frequencies don't just block their control, they cause them physical pain. The crystalline structures that make up their bodies resonate sympathetically with specific sound waves. We can literally shake them apart with the right frequencies. The tactical implications weren't lost on anyone in the room. For the first time since the war began, hope flickered in their eyes. General Martinez activated the central strategic display. The Vizari have pushed into 3 more systems since first contact. They're not used to resistance, and our immunity has thrown their entire strategy into chaos. But they're adapting. They've switched to conventional weapons, and they still outnumber us significantly. Then we need to even the odds, Sarah said, stepping up to the display. She highlighted a cluster of refugee ships gathered near Alpha Centauri. The Free Planets Alliance has provided us with detailed information about Visari technology. Their ships are impressive, but they have weaknesses. They have relied on their psychic abilities for so long. Their conventional defenses are outdated. Maya nodded enthusiastically. Their crystalline technology is vulnerable to specific resonance frequencies. If we can combine our new understanding of their physiological weaknesses with conventional military tactics, we can hit them where it hurts, Sarah finished. She manipulated the display, showing a new ship design. The UES Defiance, first of her class, designed specifically to fight the Visari. Equipped with both conventional weapons and the new resonance technology Dr. Patel's team developed. The assembled leaders studied the sleek vessel's specifications. It was smaller than traditional warships, but packed with experimental technology that combined human ingenuity with alien insights. The Visari don't understand why they can't control us, Sarah continued. They've never encountered a species that could resist them. Their entire empire is built on mental domination. But humanity, she smiled grimly. We've spent our entire history fighting against those who would dominate us, and we've gotten very good at it. General Martinez stood. The Defiance launches in 48 hours. Admiral Chen will command the first strike force. Our mission is to push back the Visari advance and protect the refugee fleets gathering in our space. But more importantly, we need to show the galaxy that resistance is possible. The meeting continued late into the night as they planned their first major offensive. The Harmony shields were already being mass-produced, ready to be distributed to their alien allies. For the first time, species that had lived in fear of the Visari for generations began to see a path to freedom. In her quarters later that night, Sarah reviewed the tactical plans one final time. The Defiance would leave a fleet of Earth's most advanced ships, protected by the new Harmony shield technology. Their target was a Visari supply line that fed their frontline forces. If they could disrupt it, they could buy time for more civilian populations to escape Visari control. A message flashed on her terminal, first speaker Corva, requesting a connection. Sarah accepted, and the avian alien's holographic form appeared. Admiral Chen. Corva's feathers rippled with emotion. Word of your discoveries has spread through the refugee networks. Species that have been under Visari control for generations are beginning to hope again. But he hesitated. The Visari will not take this threat lightly. They will come with everything they have. Sarah nodded. Let them come. Humanity has a saying. First speaker, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. The Visari Empire is about to learn that relying on a single advantage, no matter how powerful, is a critical mistake. As she prepared for bed, Sarah could hear music drifting through the station, a mixture of human and alien melodies, creating something entirely new. The very thing that made humanity unique, their ability to create and appreciate music, had become their greatest weapon against an empire that had ruled through fear for millennia. Tomorrow, they would take the fight to the Visari. And the galaxy would learn that humanity wasn't just immune to their control, they were ready to lead the fight for freedom. The UES Defiance hung in the void at the edge of the Arcturus system, its obsidian hull absorbing nearby starlight. In the command chair, Admiral Sarah Chen watched as the final battle preparations were completed. The ship's revolutionary design incorporated both human ingenuity and alien technology, creating something the galaxy had never seen before. All ships report ready, Admiral. Captain James Hayes announced from his tactical station. Harmony shield generators are operating at peak efficiency. Sarah nodded, studying the tactical display. Around the Defiance, 20 Earth vessels and a dozen allied ships from the Free Planets Alliance maintained perfect formation. Their target, the largest Visari supply base in the sector, supporting operations across 3 star systems. Signal the fleet, Sarah ordered. Execute Phase 1. The human-alien fleet split into 3 groups, each taking carefully planned positions. The Vizari had grown overconfident over millennia of unopposed rule. Their supply bases, while heavily defended, had never faced an enemy immune to their primary weapon. Vizari patrol detected. Lieutenant Park reported from sensors. 2 heavy cruisers, standard patrol pattern. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Right on schedule. Deploy the siren. From the Defiance's main hangar, a small, unmarked vessel emerged. It looked harmless, barely larger than a shuttle. But inside, it carried humanity's newest weapon against the Vizari Empire. The patrol ships approached, their crystalline hulls gleaming. Suddenly, they stopped, caught in the siren's trap. The device activated, broadcasting a complex harmonic frequency that Dr. Patel's team had developed. The effect was immediate. The crystalline growths on the Vizari ships began to vibrate, creating a cascading resonance that spread through their hulls. Within moments, cracks appeared in their previously impervious armor. Now, Sarah commanded, "All ships, execute attack pattern Delta." The human fleet surged forward, their conventional weapons finding the weak points created by the resonance attack. The Vizari ships, their crews disoriented by the harmonic assault, couldn't mount an effective defense. Within minutes, both patrol vessels were disabled. First wave successful, Hayes reported. No casualties on our side. Moving to Phase 2. The main Vizari base loomed ahead, a massive crystalline structure floating in space, housing supplies and troops for a third of their empire's forces in this sector. As expected, their response to the patrol ship's destruction was aggressive but predictable. Multiple capital ships launching, Park announced. Reading 5. No, 7 heavy cruisers and 2 dreadnoughts. Sarah leaned forward. This is where it gets interesting. Deploy the resonance mines. All ships prepare for close action protocol. The space between the human fleet and the approaching Vizari armada plumed with small autonomous devices, another innovation born from the collaboration between human and alien engineers. As the Vizari ships approached, the mines activated. The effect was catastrophic for the Vizari. Each mine generated its own specific frequency, creating a web of overlapping resonance fields. The crystalline ships began to shudder, their precise formations breaking apart as their crews struggled to maintain control. "They're launching fighters," Hayes reported. "Hundreds of them." "Perfect," Sarah replied. "Execute Phase 3. The Defiance's hull opened like a blooming flower, revealing arrays of what appeared to be speakers. But these weren't ordinary sound projectors. They were quantum harmonic generators, capable of focusing devastating resonance waves with pinpoint accuracy. "All ships, activate sonic barriers," Sarah ordered. "Then hit them with everything we've got." The human fleet's new defensive technology created a bubble of protected space around them, while their weapons, both conventional and harmonic, tore into the disorganized Vizari forces. Fighter craft shattered mid-flight, their crystalline components unable to withstand the precisely tuned frequencies. But the Vizari weren't the galaxy's dominant power for nothing. The surviving ships began to adapt, adjusting their crystalline structures to resist the harmonic assault. "They're learning," Hayes warned. "Resonance effectiveness dropping." Sarah nodded grimly. "As expected. Signal the Allied fleet. Time for Phase 4. From behind a nearby moon, the Free Planets Alliance ships emerged, led by First Speaker Corvus flagship. They carried a different type of weapon, electromagnetic pulse generators modified with Vizari crystalline technology. As the Vizari ships adjusted their structure to resist the harmonic attack, they became perfectly vulnerable to the electromagnetic assault. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human tactical innovation combined with alien technology created a symphony of destruction. The Vizari, for the first time in their history, found themselves completely outmaneuvered. "Base defenses are failing," Park reported. "We've opened a gap in their lines." Sarah stood, her voice carrying across the bridge. "All ships, form up on the Defiance. We're going to show the Vezari why humanity has survived every threat we've ever faced. The combined fleet moved as one, punching through the weakened Vezari formation. The supply base's own crystalline structure worked against it, the resonance attacks causing cascade failures throughout its systems. Message from the base, Communications Officer Zhang announced. They're surrendering. The bridge fell silent. The Vezari had never surrendered before. They'd always fought to the death, confident in their superiority. Sarah straightened her uniform. Accept their surrender. Inform all ships to cease fire but maintain defensive positions. Signal the Liberation Fleet. It's time to free the enslaved workers. As boarding parties equipped with portable Harmony shields prepared to enter the base, Sarah received a priority message from Earth Command. Similar attacks across 3 other sectors had succeeded. The Vezari Empire, for the first time in 10,000 years, was in retreat. Captain Hayes, Sarah said, watching as shuttles carried freed slaves from the base, send word to all commands. Operation Harmony is a success. The tide has turned. The liberation of the Arcturus supply base marked a turning point in the war. Not only had humanity proven that the Vezari could be beaten, but they'd shown that resistance was possible. Across the galaxy, enslaved species began to hear whispers of hope, tales of humans who could not be controlled, and the music that set minds free. The Vezari Empire had ruled through fear for millennia, but they were about to learn that fear had met its match in human determination and ingenuity. The Vezari High Command Chamber pulsed with agitation, its crystalline walls reflecting the anxiety of its occupants. Supreme Overseer Kexhal, their central consciousness, had called an emergency session for the first time in a millennium. The humans have spread their technology to the Orient sector. A commander reported, their crystalline form flickering with distress. 3 more primary worlds have fallen into open revolt. Our control is failing. In the 6 months since the Battle of Arcturus, the galaxy had transformed. Humanity's Harmony shield technology had spread like wildfire, passed from system to system through underground resistance networks. What began as a military victory had evolved into a full-scale revolution. Aboard the UES Defiance, now flagship of the Combined Liberation Fleet, Admiral Sarah Chen studied reports from across known space. The holographic display showed hundreds of systems in uprising, marked in pulsing red. The Vezari are abandoning their outer territories, Captain Hayes noted, highlighting the movement of enemy fleets. They're consolidating around their core worlds. Sarah nodded, her expression grim. They're preparing for something big. The Vezari don't retreat. They adapt. Dr. Patel, what's your assessment? Maya Patel, recently promoted to Chief of Xenotechnology, manipulated the display to show new sensor data. They're modifying their entire technological base. The crystalline structures in their ships are becoming more complex, developing layers that can dampen our resonance weapons. But she smiled. That's exactly what we wanted them to do. The Admiral raised an eyebrow. Explain. The more complex their crystalline technology becomes, the more energy it requires to maintain. They're making themselves more vulnerable to our conventional weapons in an attempt to counter our sonic attacks. Classic evolutionary trap, specializing so much against one threat that you become vulnerable to others. The tactical implications weren't lost on anyone in the room. But before they could discuss further, emergency alerts flashed across every screen. Multiple Vezari signatures detected. Lieutenant Park shouted, "Massive fleet emerging from hyperspace. Configuration we've never seen before." The main viewport filled with the sight of hundreds of Vezari vessels, their hulls now covered in intricate crystalline patterns that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. At their center, a ship larger than anything they'd encountered, easily the size of a small moon. Priority transmission from the Vezari flagship, Communications reported. Supreme Overseer Kexhal's image appeared, its crystalline form more complex and alien than any Vezari they'd seen before. Humans, the being's voice resonated through their bones. You have forced us to evolve. What you face now is no longer the Vezari Empire you knew. We have adapted. Your harmonic weapons are useless. Surrender now, or watch as we reclaim our dominion world by world." Sarah stood, her voice steady. "We received similar ultimatums 6 months ago. Overseer, our answer hasn't changed." Then witness true power. The transmission cut off. The massive Vezari fleet moved with impossible coordination, their new ships seemingly immune to the resonance attacks that had proved so devastating before. But Sarah smiled. "All ships, execute Protocol Omega," she commanded. "Dr. Patel, it's time to show them our evolution." Across the combined fleet, ships began emitting complex electromagnetic fields, calibrated to the exact frequency Maya's team had discovered in their research. The Vezari's new complex crystalline structures began to interact with the fields in unexpected ways. "Their adaptive technology is working against them," Maya explained, watching the sensor readings with satisfaction. "The more complex their crystals become, the more vulnerable they are to electromagnetic manipulation. Basic physics, you can't optimize for everything." The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had witnessed. The Vezari's new ships, for all their technological advancement, found themselves trapped in a web of electromagnetic fields that turned their own complexity against them. Ships lost power, their intricate crystals unable to maintain stability under the assault. But the Supreme Overseer's flagship proved more resilient. Its massive form pushed through the electromagnetic storm, weapons blazing with newfound fury. "Their flagship is adapting faster than we predicted," Maya warned. "The electromagnetic fields aren't enough." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Then it's time for humanity's oldest advantage, improvisation. All ships, form up on the Defiance. Lieutenant Park, broadcast on all frequencies. Music. Music, Admiral. Everything we have. Human, alien, classical, rock. All of it. Full spectrum." The space around them filled with a cacophony of sound, transmitted through the electromagnetic fields they'd created. The combination of music and electromagnetic manipulation created patterns that no computer could have predicted. Patterns that drew upon humanity's unique relationship with rhythm and harmony. The Vezari flagship's crystals began to resonate in unexpected ways, their carefully engineered adaptations unable to cope with the chaotic, organic nature of musical expression. Cracks appeared in its massive hull as different sections responded to different frequencies. "They're breaking formation," Hayes reported. "The synchronized control between their ships is failing." Sarah watched as the mighty Vezari fleet began to fragment. "Send word to all resistance cells in the sector. The time to strike is now. Show them what happens when you give hope to the oppressed." Across the battlefield, liberated alien ships began emerging from hiding, adding their own unique technologies to the assault. The Vezari found themselves caught between electromagnetic fields, harmonic resonance, and the combined fury of a dozen species fighting for freedom. Supreme Overseer Kexhal's flagship, its crystalline structure now riddled with fractures, attempted one final assault on the Defiance. But humanity had learned well from their allies, and the combined technologies of a dozen species proved too much for even the evolved Vezari to counter. As the massive ship began to break apart, a final transmission came through. What are you?" Sarah's response was calm. "We're human. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome. And most importantly, we never fight alone." The destruction of the Supreme Overseer's flagship marked the beginning of the end for Vezari dominance. Their perfectly ordered empire, built on control and fear, couldn't withstand the chaos of true freedom. Across the galaxy, the chains of oppression began to break, one system at a time. Humanity had not only survived first contact with a hostile power, they had changed the very nature of galactic civilization. The age of fear was ending, replaced by something new: cooperation, innovation, and hope. The crystalline spires of Vezara Prime glittered in the light of their binary suns, a sight few non-Vezari had ever witnessed and lived to tell about. Now, The UES Defiance led a fleet of over 1,000 ships from 30 different species toward the heart of what had once been an unassailable empire. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on her bridge, remembering that first encounter just 1 year ago. How far they'd come from a single ship defending a refugee fleet to leading the largest combined armada in known galactic history. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Vizari Home Defense Fleet holding position," Captain Hayes reported. 500 ships, including what appears to be their entire remaining ceremonial guard. They've adapted their crystalline technology again. Dr. Maya Patel looked up from her station, where she'd been analyzing sensor data. The entire planet is surrounded by some kind of resonance field. They've turned their whole world into one massive harmonic defender. Sarah nodded. They'd expected this. The Vizari, backed into their final stronghold, had one last card to play: open a channel to all ships. When she spoke, her words reached not just the Liberation Fleet, but was broadcast across thousands of worlds. This is Admiral Chen. For millennia, the Vizari Empire ruled through fear and mental domination. Today, we end that history, not through domination of our own, but through the combined strength of free peoples. She paused, looking at her crew, humans working alongside representatives from a dozen alien species. Launch Operation Harmony. Across the fleet, ships began moving into precise formations. This wasn't just a military action. It was the culmination of everything they'd learned about cooperation between species. Each ship activated specialized equipment, contributing its unique technological signature to a greater whole. Energy readings from the planet are spiking, Park warned. They're powering up some kind of planetary defense system. The surface of Vizara Prime began to glow, its entire crystalline infrastructure humming with power. A massive energy beam lanced out from the planet's equator, larger than anything they'd seen before. But the Liberation Fleet was ready. Ships from each species activated their specialized defenses in sequence, creating layers of protection that no single technology could have achieved. The Vizari beam scattered against this combined shield, dissipating harmlessly into space. "Now," Sarah ordered, "show them what unity really means." The fleet's response was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Each species contributed what they did best: human harmonic weapons, Korgan gravity manipulators, Trell phase disruptors, and dozens of other technologies, all working in perfect concert. The Vizari Defense Fleet found themselves facing not just an enemy force, but an expression of galactic cooperation that their empire of control had never imagined possible. Their adapted defenses, designed to counter specific threats, couldn't handle the symphonic combination of technologies. From the planet's surface, a transmission cut through all frequencies. A group of Vizari leaders appeared, their crystalline forms showing signs of stress. "Wait, we wish to discuss terms." Sarah exchanged glances with First Speaker Corva, who now served as her second-in-command. The avian being's feathers rippled with emotion. "After all they've done," he began. "We're not them," Sarah replied firmly. "We didn't come to destroy, but to liberate." She opened a channel to the surface. "Your empire is ended, but your people need not be destroyed. Surrender and help us build something new." The silence that followed seemed to stretch for eternity. Finally, the Vizari responded. "For 10,000 years, we believed control was strength. But you have shown us something else, something we never understood. We surrender." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Liberation forces landed on Vizara Prime, not as conquerors but as peacekeepers. The planet's control systems were dismantled, and for the first time in millennia, the minds of countless enslaved beings across the galaxy were truly their own. 3 months later, Sarah stood in the newly constructed Galactic Assembly on Earth, chosen as neutral ground for the first meeting of free species. Representatives from over 100 civilizations gathered to discuss the future. The Vizari Empire ruled through division and control. She addressed the assembly. They saw diversity as weakness, something to be dominated. But we proved that our differences are our greatest strength. When we work together, share our knowledge, and respect each other's unique qualities, we become something greater than any empire could ever be. The assembly chamber, designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes, hummed with agreement. Even a delegation of reformed Vizari was present, their crystalline forms now radiating with different colors, a sign of their growing individuality. First Speaker Corva stepped forward. We propose the formation of a galactic coalition. Not an empire, but a fellowship of equals. Earth has shown us the way. Not through control, but through harmony. As the delegates discussed the proposal, Sarah watched with pride. Humans, barely known to the galaxy a year ago, had not only helped break an empire but had shown a better way forward. They'd proven that strength didn't come from domination, but from cooperation. The Harmony Shield technology that had started it all was now being adapted for peaceful purposes, facilitating communication between species and helping to heal the mental scars of those who had been under Vizari control. Human music, the very thing that had made them resistant to control, was spreading through the galaxy, bridging cultural gaps and creating new forms of expression. As the session ended, Sarah walked through the assembly's halls, passing representatives from across the galaxy. Each had their own story of liberation, their own contribution to the final victory. But more importantly, each had a vision for the future, one where diversity was celebrated, not feared. "Admiral," Maya called out, hurrying to catch up. "The latest reports from the Vizari homeworld. Their scientists are making breakthrough after breakthrough now that they're free to pursue individual research. It turns out creativity flourishes without mental control." Sarah smiled. That's what happens when you let people be themselves. She paused at a window, looking out at the Earth below. We thought we were alone in the universe, then found ourselves in the middle of an empire. But what we really found was something greater. A galaxy full of people waiting to be free. The stars seemed brighter somehow, knowing that each one might hold not subjects of an empire, but partners in a new age of exploration and cooperation. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. They had learned that true strength lies not in standing alone, but in helping others stand with you. The age of fear was over. The age of harmony had begun.